Florida is fortunate to have over 12 million acres of protected public land. These lands help protect the environmental integrity of our state. We will explore these diverse habitats and their importance to all living things, including our own species. This is the Florida Field Journal. Today, I'm at the Celery Fields in Sarasota County. I'm going to meet Jeanne Dubi, who is the president of Sarasota Audubon. This area is called the Celery Fields
because they grew celery here. At the early part of the 20th century, they drained the sawgrass marsh that was here for agriculture. And because the soil was so mucky and fertile, it was perfect, and they experimented with various crops, but they finally settled on celery as the prime crop. It was under agriculture up and through really in the early 90s. And at that time, the county purchased the land from the remaining farm interests, and but they wanted it for stormwater drainage. And the reason for that is we're in the Roberts Bay watershed here, which means that the water in this area drains down into the Gulf of Mexico, into Roberts Bay. And at times of high rains and floods, the people who lived along that drainage area, especially in Philippi Creek, a lot of them got their houses flooded out. So they purchased the land in '95 and they dug out all these wonderful ponds and canals, and the birds came.
Probably as it was before it was farmland.
Yes, probably. It would have been full of traditional swamp birds, the herons and egrets and limpkins and so on. And of course, during the agricultural period, they probably declined dramatically. But now that the county has purchased the land and restored 100 acres, they took 100 acres of the 300 that they purchased and designated that for wetland restoration. And so this is what we have here. And that was finished in May of 2011. And they put hundreds of thousands of native plants in here. And before you know it, the birds had shown up. And we have birds nesting here that had not nested here probably since the historic period.
I've noticed there's been a resurgence of limpkins here.
Yes, that's true. Limpkins are very, very popular. First of all, they're a typical swamp bird. And why is that? Because they eat snails, apple snails. And there's abundance of apple snails here. But I have to say that the apple snails that are here are predominantly the exotic ones, which is actually a problem in itself. The exotic apple snails seem to be crowding out the native apple snails. But the limpkins don't seem to care, by the way. They're thriving on it. They're thriving on the exotics. So that's why there are a lot of limpkins here. And limpkins are a bird, a Florida specialty bird. They're only found in Florida in the United States. And so people who have a real interest in birding, as I do, come to Florida just to see that particular bird. And we've got plenty of them in Sarasota. We're with the Sarasota Audubon Society, have adopted this area actually, and we've worked with the county in order to develop it into an area of passive recreation and especially wildlife viewing. And we've taken it a step further by offering field trips to school children within Sarasota County. And this year, we started that program in January, and for 2 months we've had 1,400 children out here. And free of charge, I have to say. Sarasota Audubon and the Gulf Coast Community Foundation funded that program. And the kids are coming free of charge, and they absolutely love it. It's a wonderful program.
That's terrific.
We're hoping that we get the funding to continue that, because it was such a popular program. Once we announced that to the school system, all 28 trips were fully subscribed within a few hours. And we have 30 schools on the waiting list. So we need to keep the program going.
That's great. Now you have great plans for this area as well.
Yes. In addition to the school programs, and we want to expand those as well, we're in the middle of a capital campaign to build a nature center just near the hill. And we have plans, we'll probably start that within the next year. And it will be it's not just for Audubonists, it's going to be a community resource. It's going to be a visitor center where people can come off the highway and find out what there is to do in Sarasota, in our parks and all our natural areas. And we'll also be here to help the county maintain this site for wildlife. This 100-acre wetlands restoration has really succeeded all our expectations in terms of the number of birds that visit here, the number of birds that breed here, and so that's wonderful. There's an area, this is just one part of the 400 plus acres, by the way, and so we hope to maybe enhance some of the other areas, help the county plan and do some of that, because there are some areas north of Palmer Boulevard that could use some more wildlife management. So we hope, and we think that we can attract more birds here and more visitors. It's a great place to walk and jog, and just you don't have to be a bird watcher to love it.
Bird watching has become like a huge sport.
It has. It's one of those things that everybody can do it. You can do it in your backyard, you can go to exotic places like Africa, and everything in between. And everybody can be involved, children and adults and grandparents, and it's a low cost. I mean, you could spend very little money doing it with your binoculars in your local area, or you can go on these lavish trips, to safaris and look for birds. So there's everything in between, and it's definitely huge economic business. I personally travel to overseas to go birding, and that's the reason I go is to look for birds. And so I'm a good contributor to the economy around the world, but we want to encourage people to come to Florida to look at our bird life, which is one of the birdiest states in the country.
I love this place.
Yeah.
It's very convenient.
Right.
It's something to see all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no question. And one of the other things that we're doing is we hope that this becomes a scientific lab. We mentor students from high school and college on various bird species here, studying them, and so we hope that we can enhance that too.
My name's Skylar Nissen. I'm a 10th grade student at Sarasota High School in the Mast and Ace department there.
So you've been working with Audubon out here at the Celery Fields?
Yeah.
Are you focused on any one particular aspect?
It's mainly Limpkins and their food sources that are here. It's either the native Florida apple snail or the invasive apple snail.
What about the Limpkins?
It's a currently endangered species in Florida, and there's actually a lot of them around the Celery Fields, and they mainly feed 90% of their diet is on these snails. And we weren't sure which snails they were eating, or the effects of these snails or which ones are here for them to eat. And then also we didn't see another bird called the snail kite also eats these snails. And since we didn't see any of these except a few juveniles who landed and flew off. The snail kite currently we know feeds on both species of snails as a juvenile, but favors the Florida snail. I actually want to be a wildlife rehabilitator eventually, and then also study different biological and environmental studies.
Every year in April, we celebrate Earth Day. Thanks to Sarasota County and Sarasota Audubon, we celebrate Earth Day every day at the Celery Fields.